Hi, I'm Amber,
And I'm Kirsten.
and you're listening to
Lurking in the Shadows.
Hello.
Welcome to our next episode. I have no idea what number we're on, but
Yeah, because when this one comes out, I think we still got 3 ahead of this one.
probably, yeah.
So it might be number 9.
We're making
Maybe.
sure we're ahead of the game. We're just being prepared.
Yeah.
This is welcome to episode blank. Today is my episode, and it is a very mysterious case. Definitely right up Kirsten's alley with the mysterious disappearance
Yes.
and not many answers. So I think she'll enjoy this.
Yeah, I'm excited because I only know the name. I don't know the details.
You don't know any details.
No, I don't.
You don't even know like where it was located, where it was at, or anything.
No, I don't think so.
All right. Cool. I mean, I didn't know anything either. This was, I think you
Yeah.
added it to the list. So
Yeah. It
So-
came on my radar, but I didn't research it.
You didn't research it. All right. Well, good. Then this will be a good one. I like when
Yeah.
I can get ones that you've never heard of because you
Yeah.
always surprise me of all the cases you remember. Oh, speaking of cases, actually, as we're recording this, the Lori Vallow case trial is happening.
Oh, is it?
I saw that today on one of our Facebook groups posted that they were watching it live, the
Okay.
trials, and that she was crying her face off, whether we believe it or not.
I don't know why I thought she was already convicted. I know she was in prison, but I guess she didn't actually have trial.
Maybe it's for something else. I didn't read the details, so
Yeah.
I didn't click on it.
And sorry if you can hear this annoying car in the background.
I actually can't
Their
hear
base is just going off outside.
it. Is it real? I can't hear it right now, so that's good.
Like, get the hell out of here. Get your
Rocking
stupid
out.
car off.
No riot, Kirsten.
I should.
Well, while they jam, we'll get into murder.
Yeah.
So today I am talking about the Lost Boys of Pickering. They were 6 teenage boys that went missing mysteriously in Pickering, Ontario, Canada. The 6 boys were Jay Boyle, 17 years old, Chad Smith, 18 years old, Robbie Rumbolt, 17 years old, Jamie Lebreve, 17 years old, Michael Cummins, 17 years old, and Danny Higgins, 16 years old.
Is this our first international case?
Is it?
I think everything else was U.S.
Well, I did the Scotland lighthouse, I guess.
The lighthouse, yeah.
That was a sprinkled in, like not a full case, but
Yeah, that was just True Crime and a Dime. Make sure
Yeah,
you listen to it.
yeah, that's right. Check it out. So yeah, maybe this is, and also shout out to Steph in Canada that I know. She'll probably be listening. So hi,
Yeah,
Steph.
she's our number 1 fan.
Hell yeah. Yes, she's putting in the work. So Jay, Chad, and Robbie were all from Pickering. Jamie was from Scarborough. Michael was from Oshawa. And Danny was from Ajax. There's not a lot of information about most of the boys. I was only able to find most information about Jay Boyle because his family continued to stay active in trying to find the answers on these missing boys.
Yeah.
So his mother, Patricia Boyle, and sister Amanda Boyle play an important role. God dang.
Right? What are
That's
these people doing out there?
I don't know. Are they street racing? Goodness.
I guess probably.
Let me back up
That's
a
probably
little.
because what happened to that kitty yesterday.
You're gonna crush me. Don't bring that up. Sad. Goodness.
Yeah.
So his mother, Patricia Boyle, and sister Amanda Boyle play an important role in this story, but he did have altogether 4 sisters and his dad who were also trying to get answers for this case. When Jay went missing, he had recently dropped out of high school and moved in with his girlfriend Monique and their daughter into an apartment, and he was trying to get his life back together. Remember, he's 17.
Yeah.
And he had talked to his family about making things better for his kids, and he was really trying. These typical bored teenage boys would find themselves getting into trouble, though. They had a reputation in town for joyriding watercrafts, stealing beer from boats, and usually would find the boys hanging around the marina late at night.
Okay.
The night of March 15th, 1995, the boys had taken a water tricycle out for a joyride. And if you don't know what a water tricycle is, because I didn't, even though we've done
Yeah, I've
many
never
of
heard of that.
yeah, I know, me neither. Me and you,
It sounds dangerous.
I've done lots of water sports and stuff. I never knew what it was, but
Mhm.
it's up your vibe. Totally, Kirsten. It's a paddle boat. Okay, so
Oh,
it's like a little
perfect.
tricycle paddle boat that you just like pedal on the water and move around.
Okay.
So yeah, your speed.
Yeah.
Um,
Safe.
yeah, safe. So they decided to take that out on the night of May 15th. Jay did have some past run ins with the law for assault charges. And on that same night that they decided to take the tricycle out, after that, he was arrested and then released when he was caught trying to break into and steal from a local grocery store. We don't have any record of what the boys did earlier the next day on March 16th, but by that evening, 5 of the boys met in a basement spring party. Amanda, the sister, Jay's sister, wanted to attend that party, but she actually was sick that day and decided to stay home. His daughter was at his grandparents' for the night, and his girlfriend Monique expected him home later back to the apartment. And here's just some strange notes of behavior. Like I said, we don't have a lot on the other boys, but this is just a few little notes that I got. Danny Higgins handed his expensive chain necklace to his mom, asking her to look after it before going to the party that night. And
A
Danny
little
also
cryptic.
got in, right, like I don't know the sentimental value, but like it's not like I would take off
Yeah.
my necklace and give it to my family. You know what I mean? So
I guess it could just be like maybe it was expensive and he just didn't want it to get damaged. I don't know.
no, that's true. I mean, you're going to a party.
Yeah.
Danny also got into a fight that night with the boys, but it seemed that they had made up because we learned later that they wanted to go and hang out at Jay's place. So at this party, as far as we know, it was just a drinking party, a little bit of marijuana, no other hard drugs, and it was kind of just low-key vibes for the night.
Okay.
At 1:30 a.m., now we're into March 17th, Jay called his girlfriend and asked if he could bring all the boys back to the place to kind of keep the party going after possibly stopping at the marina. And she said that was fine and hung up with him, assuming that she would see him later that night coming home. He did mention taking the tricycle out that night, and there are some theories that the tricycle was not tied up correctly by the boys the night before when they took it out the first night. So, since they didn't tie up the tricycle right the night before, the theory is that the tricycle wound up drifting off, and that's why the tricycle went missing, because we'll find out later that
Okay.
there's another boat that's missing. So, but some people also think they took out the tricycle, but I think the solid theory here is that the tricycle, they must not have tied it up right and just floated off.
Okay.
But a lot of this case also, is the evidence it's mostly circumstantial theories. We don't have a lot of hard evidence in this case at all.
Okay.
But what some evidence that we do have is surveillance footage that night at the marina at 1:48 a.m. Michael, Jamie, and Robbie can be seen on the surveillance at the East Shore Marina in Frenchman's Bay. You can see them walking in a single file line, but that's only 3 of the boys on the footage. There's never any other footage of the other 3 boys. And this footage also is very grainy, and it's just them walking. So by 3:30, some of the girlfriends of the guys decided to report them missing to the local police because they hadn't heard from them for the last 2 hours. And the last time they heard from them, they were supposed to be coming back to the apartment.
Right.
So, of course, here we go with our terrible police. They told the women to have the parents of the kids call back in the morning to report them missing. So at 9 a.m., Monique called the police again to report them missing, and she was told again by the police, you need to have the parents call and report them. So once she was able to get a hold of all the parents, all 6 groups of parents, and let them know what was going on, and by the time those parents were able to make their phone calls and their reports, the boys were reported missing about 24 hours after the fact.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. And then police waited another half of a day to start actually searching Lake Ontario after the parents reported them missing. So now we're about 36 hours-ish after the boys have officially gone missing that the police are finally putting in effort here.
And that's a pretty large lake too, isn't it?
Oh, it's ginormous, yeah.
Yeah.
The police make their way down to the marina to ask some questions, and they do learn from people who live on their boats there that they had heard that night between 2 and 2:30 a.m. a boat start its engine and drive off. But we have no solid proof of this at all. That's all we have is that whoever's word this is.
Yeah.
They also learn that a 14-foot or 4-meter long imitation Boston whaler was missing and that the water tricycle was missing. But again, the theory about the water tricycle. So we'll focus on the Boston whaler. To put in perspective, a Boston whaler boat is kind of a small fishing boat. It could definitely hold the weight of all 6 of those boys. I mean, they're almost grown men. They're 17, you know. It could hold all of them.
Yeah.
But it would be tight. It would not be comfortable for all of them to be on this boat.
Okay.
Like, the best perspective I can give for you, Kirsten, is like standing in my camper and imagine 6 grown men trying to stand into that camper.
Yeah.
So that's
Is this more of like a little motorboat type boat?
Yeah, like a little fishing boat, like pontoon kind of size.
Yeah.
It's meant for fishing. The temperature of the water at this time was 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius.
Oh.
Yeah. Police were informed by the boat owner that they believed there was only a quarter of tank of fuel left, and that would only take them about 25 miles. And now, since the police are piecing everything together, and they believe the boys stole the boat, and now that it's been 36 hours, they're already starting to assume that maybe they've sunk and they have drowned. And just on what little information they have, they're already jumping the gun, but that's what they're thinking. And they also decided on their own that since the boat, the amount of fuel that was in the tank would only take them 25 miles, which would not get them across the border. So the border goes in the middle of Lake Ontario. So since the 25 miles wouldn't get them past the border, they decided to not get Border Patrol involved, which they could have capitalized on because it really would have helped them like find the boys if they would have just asked for some help. But instead they decided it wasn't, worthy of reporting to the Border Patrol. So they themselves gathered the Canadian Air Force, and they sent a C-130 and a helicopter to help in the search. The Coast Guard also wound up joining, and also thousands of volunteers got in their own boats and hit the lake. One tip that did come in from the helicopter was a surface level vessel that was sinking, but the police never looked into it, of course.
What?
Oh, yeah. Yep. After about 36 hours of searching, police gave up and reported it as an accident and set this case aside, even though they had absolutely no evidence that these boys even went on the lake. We have no evidence of that.
Because we don't have the boat either, right?
We don't have the boat. We don't have footage of them getting on a boat. We don't have anybody with eyes on them that said these boys were on the boat. And in the footage, all we have is the 3 boys. We don't even know where the other 3 boys are.
So how did they know it could only go 25 miles?
Because it only had about a quarter tank of fuel left in the gas tank on the boat. And so whatever, I don't know mileage or anything for boats, I don't know that, but that quarter of a tank would have taken them 25 miles about.
But how did they know there was only a quarter of a tank in it if we don't have the boat?
They asked the owner. They
talked the owner. Okay, so he remembered how much.
Yeah, the owner of the boat, who was reporting it also missing to the police, let them know how much gas was left in the boat. And technically, like, with that amount,
I don't know that I would have remembered that.
with right, like, how do we know for sure? Also, we have no confirmation for sure that there's only a quarter of a tank of gas in there. We're going by somebody's word here. And also, the police suspected that they could have taken the boat to Toronto because it's quicker if you own a boat to just jump in your boat and drive on the water to Toronto and do whatever you need to do and then come back. So the police also kind of suspected that maybe that's what they did. Another tip that came in was from boaters who reported that they saw a boat sunken with its nose up on their sonar that they had, but again, police never looked into it. And
what?
Yep,
they're looking for a boat, and they're just not going to take any leads.
Nope. They didn't even try to contact or try and contract or hire somebody outside of them that would have sonar or anything to come and look in the lake. They didn't even try and do anything like that to search for these boys. And then also some random tips that would be sprinkled in there that police, again, still were not really like, there was no proof or anything that I could read that they were actually looking into these tips, even though these I don't think are, but we have nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Some tips that came in were the boys being sighted in the United States. Another neighbor reported one of the boys entering their home at some point, but that was never proven. Some of the parents reported some missing items from the boys' bedrooms, but I couldn't find any specifics about like what was missing or why for those parents. Like that, you know, they felt it was prominent enough to report it to the police. So, but as far as I know, police did not like search any of the boys' rooms, didn't go and look at anything like that. Nothing.
They literally don't care.
Literally, they did their 36 hours and like, I did my due diligence. That's it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, there's boys missing. Whatever.
Yep. That's the whole vibe.
Teenage boys are missing. Not my problem. That's how they're acting.
Literally, yeah. They're like, but a lot of people suspect it's because, and all of these are theories, rumors, things like that, is that the boys having a reputation with the police that they really just didn't care. They were just like, oh, boys will be boys. You know, there's those boys again doing whatever.
Yeah. So. Were they white?
Yes, they are all white boys.
Okay.
But they were troubled teens, you know, getting into trouble. So they probably weren't on the police's good side, but I mean, that still doesn't excuse you not doing your damn job.
Right. Because they're on a lake, there's a high chance that drowning happened. Like, you don't even want to try to find their bodies.
Yeah, I mean, and
Like,
at
why
this
is no
point,
searching being done?
we don't even have proof they're on the lake, but at least we could start somewhere. Like, goddamn.
Right. Because I feel like that's the most likely scenario here is drowning.
Yeah,
If there's a missing boat and missing boys, like, why
yeah,
aren't we searching this lake?
yeah. Why are we not at least trying to do that? It's the
Yeah.
best lead we have here. So, 11 days later, a gas can with French and English writing washed up in Wilson, New York. It was sent back to Pickering, Ontario, where the boat owner confirmed that the can was from his stolen boat. Once this was confirmed, the cops they were more than they couldn't get any more confident in themselves that their theory was absolutely correct. That these boys sunk the boat and they drowned. That's what happened. Case closed. They were not interested in actually getting the proof of that, though.
Even
So
if that is their case, why are you doing that? Why is there no recovery mission being done?
exactly, they're just like writing it off. They're not willing to even put in any
Right.
effort here. I don't understand why. And it's, I mean, we're not just talking about one person here. This is 6 children.
Right.
6 children. They're all children.
Yeah.
And they literally just did not care to even put in that much effort or even go look at the people are literally telling them about boats in the water, and there's no evidence or nothing that I could find that said they even went to look for it.
They're poor parents.
I know. And the, like I said, Jay Boyle's family is the one that still consistently continued, but all the rest, I know specifically one of the families completely has fallen off. Like, nobody knows where they are. They moved out of town and just want to be left alone. And then the other families have kind of just moved on with their lives.
That's interesting. I'd be harassing that police station every day
Oh, me too. Yeah.
if something was done.
I think it is interesting to think that it's 6 families and only one of them is sitting here. No, and I don't mean nothing about it. We have no idea what this is like. We've never,
Right.
we can't put ourselves in their shoes. But I just feel like for myself, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night with lack of answers.
Right.
So I feel like I would be quite annoying probably to the police department, honestly.
Yeah.
So, the police, they got their answers. They put this case aside for over 10 years until a private investigator named Bruce Ricketts decided to look into this case pro bono in 2010.
Well, thank goodness.
Yeah. And Bruce really felt bad for the families of these boys because once he took a look into the case and he realized the lack of effort that the cops were putting in to try and get any answers for these people was absurd. They were not doing anything, and it was blatantly obvious. I mean, Jay had a family and a kid and was trying to get his life back together, and his family refused to give up on where the boys were. So they wound up really working together, Bruce and that family, because like I said, Jay, out of all of them, I don't know their history. They were all young, but Jay seemed like the one with a girlfriend, supposed to go back to the apartment that night. He's got a kid, he was trying. So
Right. Yeah.
I
It
really
doesn't seem like they just ran away.
Yeah. I don't even think that's in a realm of possibilities. I really think, especially 6 teenage boys on a I think it was a Friday night or a Sunday night or something. It was a weekend night. When Bruce reviewed the camera footage, he found that there were plenty of people besides the boys in those videos before and after them. And as far as we know, the police never went and questioned these, but also Bruce, his theory was that maybe in the footage it was too grainy for them to identify anyone, but also I don't think the police really went back down to the marina and was like, hey, were you here last night? Can I question you? Type of thing.
Right.
I think they kind of just saw the boys because the whole footage of the boys on the marina, the police only showed the family about 15 minutes of it. They refused to show them any more than that.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't know what their motive for that was, honestly.
Right.
So they never tried to find those people to question them to see if they saw them. I know that there was like 3 people, a man and 2 women, who were walking only about 20 minutes after the boys are seen on the camera. But, you know, whether they saw anything or not, they never came forward, and the police, I don't think, ever tracked them
Yeah.
down. During the entire 14 years of looking into this case, Bruce fought very hard with the police to try and get any of the records and reports, but they just gave him excuses, or they would deny his claims. He would have to file, because you have to like file forms and stuff to get like some of those public records, and they would deny him, and he would have to appeal, and they would deny him, and he'd have to appeal, and then they'd give him the runaround, or like they were stonewalling him. It was the word I kept finding in all
Yeah.
of these articles, was that the police was just doing that to him, and he's a PI. Like, this is what he does, you know.
Yeah.
And they're fighting with him. So what are they hiding?
Right. Something's weird here.
Yeah. And an example I have as the police acting weird is a set of remains of a lower body wearing red pants, which is the same color pants that Jay was wearing that night, were found in 1998, but was never told to the family, nor was DNA ever tested on it at this point.
And
It
what
took
year
the
are we in now?
Now I'm about to that was 1998. We're about to be in 2013.
What the heck? And they still haven't tested it at that point?
At this point, Rickett had to fight with them to get the DNA testing done. And when the DNA test came back, he was told it was negative, but he never got, as far as I could find, and I could not find an actual official report of DNA test being negative. It was kind of like, and he said he wasn't sure if he actually believed him that they actually put in the effort to, because he got the runaround when he was trying to get the DNA. Yeah. They said for a long time, they said, oh, we lost the bone in renovation. And then the next story that he got was, oh, pathology has it. They've been hanging on to it. He goes to pathology. Pathology says, we wouldn't hang on to bones for 15 years. We don't have that bone here. And then finally, when it's like the 3rd or 4th time, he's like, hello, DNA testing, where's this at? They finally tell him negative. So that's why he really felt like, what if they're just lying to me? You know, he wasn't just pulling that out of thin air, you know. This information on this case has been redacted. Bruce, like I said, was trying to really fight for it, but it has not been released to the public. And I myself, and I'm not the only one, struggled to find information. I actually even watched, it's called the Mile Higher podcast, and they cover this case.
Oh, yeah.
And they themselves struggled to find information on this case. So Bruce Rickett wrote say it again.
Which is sad.
Yeah, it is sad that
6 boys and there's barely any information.
Yeah. I couldn't even, they don't have any, like, you know, usually I like to give a little bit more background on the boys. Nothing. I couldn't find anything other than how old they are. So Bruce Ricketts wrote a book called The Lost Boys, What We Know and What We Believe. And he based this off of all his research that he did over the years. And unfortunately, though, Bruce died in January of 2024, which is 29 years after the boys disappeared, with no answers. Wow. And on this day that we are recording at this point, we are now over 30 years of these boys going missing with no information. And the only person that was actually putting in any effort, you know, unfortunately now has passed away. So I really would love that we don't let this case die, and that these 6 boys, we can maybe get some answers. I know it's 30 years, but you just never know.
Right.
So, if you have any information, please contact Durham Police at 905-579-1520 or anonymously contact Durham Regional Crime Stoppers by calling 1-800-222-TIPS. That's 8477, or going online to www.durhamregionalcrimestoppers.ca.
And we've said before, like, we think the answers to a lot of missing persons cases is bodies of water.
Yeah,
So hopefully, like, one of those search groups is willing to take this case on and search.
I follow some like search groups and stuff on TikTok that like go in and
Yeah.
find vehicles and things like that. And I mean, I know like this, especially because if they sunk a boat and they drowned, I'm sure it's nearly impossible to be finding their remains, but maybe we could find the boat.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
And then that would kind of tell us, like, yeah, that this likely was a drowning.
Yeah, that like maybe, I mean, something. We literally have nothing.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
30
it's
years.
interesting that, like, they all disappeared.
Yeah, and I think like all we can do is assume that the other 3 boys were hanging out with them and joined them, but we have
Right.
also no proof. Like those kids,
Yeah, where are they at?
once they were seen at that party that night, that was it. Nobody ever saw them again. We had no idea where they went from there. You know, we
Yeah.
just assumed that they joined the other boys at the marina.
Right.
So yeah, there
And
you
they're
go.
probably in the water somewhere. I mean, if they are going to go off of that 25 miles, that gives them from start to 25 miles to search.
Yeah. And also, I mean, they were the thing that also is terrible to think about is that they waited 36 hours, okay? If those boys took that boat out
Right.
and it sunk and they're in 4 degrees Celsius water, whether those boys were professional swimmers or not, they're not going to survive 36 hours in that water.
No.
So even if, and apparently the Boston Whaler had a reputation for being an unsinkable ship, but I don't believe that bullshit ever since Titanic.
No.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so anything's possible with teenage boys as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they, because if they would have made it to, like, the coast of another side of the lake, like, the boat would be there. We'd have the boat.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything we have is pretty much just like trusting people's word of what they saw, what they know. Like that person confirmed that's their gas can. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, a gas can's a gas can. I don't know if like
Yeah. Right.
so.
Sad.
It's very sad. Very sad case of the Lost Boys of Pickering. And like I said, if you have any information, check it out. We'll leave the links, phone calls, anything after these 30 years. It just hurts my heart that, you know, these boys never got to live their lives out, whether they were being stupid that night or not.
Yeah.
You know, teenage boys will be teenage boys.
They will be.
So make like a shadow and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at
Lurking in the Shadows podcast.
Check us out on TikTok at
Lurking in the Shadows pod.
Send us an email if you have any case suggestions or feedback or anything like that.
At Lurking in the Shadows podcast at gmail.com. Please rate, share, and subscribe to our show. And keep lurking around for our next episode.
Bye.
Bye.